Eric, what's the highest payment you've seen a customer sign up on, and what type of car was it?
$1,450 and an F450 Platinum.
Luke, what's the highest car payment you've seen somebody sign up on? What kind of car was it?
Hey, Segovia. Coming to you live from the Man Cave. Hope everyone out there is having a good day, y'all. We're back. We're back with another video over here. We're starting to get consistent on this channel, y'all. Make sure you guys show some love. Let's get into that algorithm. Let's get it going, y'all. But we got some inflation TikToks coming up. It's a big topic right now. Put it on the news right now. They're talking about the stock market. They're talking about people losing money. They're talking about the price of eggs. They're talking about all these things to do with money. Over here, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into some of those subjects. We're going to have some clips in these videos that are going to teach you how to maybe save some money, maybe how to budget, maybe how to put money away, maybe how to put money away for your retirement, simple things like that. Putting things, instead of putting them into a savings account, put it into S&P 500, get 10%. We're going to be getting into some of that stuff, y'all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Prices from 2018 compared to 2024. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in 2018 was $900 a month. In 2024, it was $1,500. A house on average was $375,000 in 2018 compared to a whopping $515,000 in 2024. The average gas prices was $2.50 in 2018 compared to $4 a gallon in 2024. A gallon of milk was $2.90 in 2018 compared to $4.50 a gallon in 2024. A Big Mac meal was $6.50 in 2018 compared to a high $11 in 2024. The average electricity bill was $100 a month in 2018 compared to $150 a month in 2024. A new car on average was $30,000 in 2018. In 2024, a new car is $45,000 on average. A loaf of bread was only $1.28 in 2018. Now a loaf of bread is twice that much. A box of cereal was only $3 in 2018. Now a small box is $5 in 2024. Oh, how prices have changed in such little time.
Has anyone noticed that it's literally becoming impossible to live a normal life because of the inflation that's going on? Literally, our rent payment used to be $800. 2-bedroom, 2 full bath. $1,400.
Pretty cheap.
$1,400 is what we pay now. Used to be $800 just a few years ago, and now it's $1,400. Go figure. My auto insurance, gone up 28%. Again, go figure. Inflation. Don't let me forget to mention electric bill, $300. For what? For what? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Now the icing on the cake, I feel like I go to the grocery store. Okay, I go to Kroger. I feel like I go in there with $100 and I come out with a gallon of milk. And 2 pieces of toast. And not even the good pieces of toast. You know, like the end pieces? That's what I come out with. It is dumb what is going on. How has inflation affected you guys? Because, again, rent used to be $800. Now it's $1,400. $300 electric bill? Like, seriously, guys? Like, this is stupid. This is what's been going on in America. Inflation.
Why are
$300 electric bill? That is crazy for an apartment. I just got my electricity bill. Granted, it's the wintertime. It's not summer. AC's not running yet. We got 2 AC units because I'm in a 2-story, so I'm a little nervous how that's going to be, right? But our electricity bill was like $80. Now, why is 300? I'm not even expecting it to be 300 when it's summertime and that AC is running 24/7 and fans running 24/7. I'm expecting maybe 200. Like, where are you at that your electricity is $300 freaking dollars? That is crazy. But 1,500 is not that bad for a 2-bedroom apartment. Not that bad. Of course, 800 is amazing, but 1,500, even back in 2020, I was probably paying that for a 1-bedroom, 800 square foot apartment. I don't think that's too bad.
and Gen Z struggling today, it is the effing housing prices and rent prices. This is the problem that needs to be solved. In 1980, the house was $47,000. To qualify was $18,000 in income, and the median household income was $21,000, and that makes sense. Or you could rent for 14%. Let's rapid fire through these years to get to today. 1990 was $78K, $21K to qualify, $38K median household income, 17% to rent. 2000, $105, $28,000 to qualify, $49,000 median household income, 16%. Now 2010, $180,000, $30,000 to qualify, $50,000 median household income. 2019, $260,000 for the house, $40K to qualify, and $68,000 was the median household income. Yet it was still 25% to rent. But let's look at today. Today is $430,000 for the home. What do you need to qualify? $110,000, and the median household income is $81,000. What? And this 110, by the way, is with 0 college loans, car payments, or credit cards, and a 20% down payment, which most people don't have 80 grand laying around. They're most likely going to put 3% down, and you need about $150,000. And guess what the rent is if you can't afford this, which most can't? 30% for the median household. But yet the single person who's not looking to buy a house right now, who's renting, they're spending 40%.
I don't think that a lot of older generations realize how the younger generations don't get to spend our 20s figuring out what we want to do with our lives anymore. Because back in the day, you used to spend your 20s working like a burnout job, an easy, low-stress job that paid you enough to get by, and then you would spend that time figuring out what you want to do with your life, right? And then you would take that idea, you'd move forward into your 30s, you'd create a career, and you'd go after it. Your 20s today are figuring out what you need to do to establish a base level of stability where you are earning enough income to no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, to no longer be budgeting out your groceries to the cent every 2 weeks just to get by. And then the hope is that if we work hard enough in our 20s and you're lucky enough to not have misfortune befall you on a regular basis, then you can spend your 30s figuring out what you want to do with your life. And that's why young people are so depressed nowadays, because that's all that we have. We are figuring out how to survive in this economy that we've been given. Because we don't have the privilege of figuring out what we want to do with our lives. We are doing what we need to do in order to just get by. That's why all of these young kids are on these apps trying to get the attention economy to work in their favor as much as possible. Because if you can just get that bag, then you actually have the freedom to do what you want to do. Like, there are tons of kids who want to be doctors, who want to be engineers, but they don't have that economic stability that afforded them the extra mental and emotional energy to just go to school for those careers. Like, we are the generation that simultaneously has the most STEM degrees per capita and the most people working 2 jobs at the same time. That should tell you something.
I think our generation completely got screwed. I don't think our parents realize how difficult it is. I mean, everything right now, definitely post-pandemic, it's crazy. Like, I'm working 45 hours here, but I still have to ask my parents for help living here by myself. So,
can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live?
I know he kind of answered the question himself in his own video, but I want to highlight one thing he briefly mentioned and talk about it, which is that the American dream is dead. Yes, the traditional American dream, which is like doing better than your parents and being able to provide a lot for your family, is dead, or at least it's changed. Because there are many of us that are well aware that we will never be able to make as much money as our parents did. And I think my mother, who is a boomer and benefited directly from the system in place, said it best when she once said, roughly, that the American dream has changed. It's become very apparent to everyone that in this economy, Gen Z, millennials, and some Gen Xers, many of us will not be able to do better than our parents. We won't even be able to do as well as our parents. And now the American dream has become just being able to get by, being able to maybe afford a house at some point, maybe have a kid or 2 if we're lucky enough to make that much money. And a lot of us, myself included, who has now experienced company like financial related layoffs twice so far in the last 2 years since I've entered the job market. You know, those of us who feel like we're constantly in fight or flight about bills and how we're going to keep making it by, it's making us miserable and feel so hopeless. And yes, I could sit here all day and show you graphs of how like inflation is going up, and while wages are going up, it's just not matching inflation.
10
So it
cents.
feels like we're all just constantly working and working, and the goalpost just keeps getting moved further and further away from us. And yeah, it has a lot of us extremely stressed and worried and feel like just giving up because we're constantly running a race where the finish line is getting moved further out. And I think it's obvious that we're all just really exhausted by it now. I know I am. I'm constantly hitting a wall with all of this. And a lot of us have to wake up every day blatantly knowing we will never do as well as our parents did. And we just have to try to make it, somewhat close to that. I'm sorry. My dad passed away several years ago on this date. So I'm just thinking about him, and sometimes I feel like he'd be proud of me, but sometimes I feel like he'd be very disappointed. But he was also an extremely intelligent businessman with multiple degrees, so I think he, more than anyone, would really understand what we're all feeling right now.
You got a roof over your head, but I can only, I was telling my lady this the other day, like, I'm anxious to see how our generation is going to be when we start retiring, right? In our 50s, 60s, like, because especially right now, people probably aren't putting money into their retirement, right? You need every dollar you can get. Like our parents, I know my parents, I can't speak to everybody, but they didn't go to college. My dad drove trucks, made a good living. My mom was kind of stay at home, on and off here and there. She'd go work a little bit, but most of the time when we were growing up, she was, at home. My dad would wake up they made sacrifices, y'all. You act like, at least my dad did. I can't speak for everybody's parent. Like that time, like they say they had it so easy. Like my dad went to work at 1 in the morning forever. 1 in the morning, would get out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, come out, clean the yard, and then go outside and play basketball with us, go swimming with me and my friends. Like, it wasn't as easy. Like they made those sacrifices, y'all. A lot of people get on the boomers, like my dad was up. I'd come home tore up from my friend's house across the street at 12, 1 o'clock, and he's out there walking the dog going to work, when I was in high school. So, but like they didn't have student loans. At least my parents did. They didn't have student loans. They didn't have really car payments. They didn't have credit card debt. Like credit, it was cash. There was no credit cards back then. It was cash. You can go get a loan or whatever, but usually it was just cash. And so there wasn't all these credit cards. So I'm anxious to see what our generation is going to be like. The generation under us, like, is it just going to get worse and worse? Because these wages ain't going up, like she said. They get a 25-cent raise. When they do evaluation, we're going to give you a 25-cent raise. You're doing good, but I mean, that's an extra $2 a day. You know what I mean? That's not going to, make or break, things. I can get a house now because I got a 25-cent raise. Like, no, it ain't doing nothing, y'all. Yeah, it's not doing nothing. But, I'm anxious to see how our generation is going to do because I was born in 1990. So, I'm halfway there. I'm halfway to retirement. I put money away. I don't put money away where I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I'm hoping, the more and more money I make, the more and more I'm putting there. But I'm anxious to see because people got student loans, they got car payment, like those things I don't have. I didn't go to school. I drive a 2008 Dodge Ram, paid cash. What are they going to do, y'all? Because especially during this time, no one's really putting money away for that because they got to make all they can make, but they're still going on vacations or racking up that credit card debt, y'all. Still going on vacations, still going out drinking all the time, still going out to eat all the time. Like, what's it going to be like, y'all? What do you guys think? What do you guys think the generation, you know, the millennials, the Gen Zers, the Xers, I guess they are, what is their retirement going to be like? Because it just goes up. As you saw in that house graph, it just went up, up and up and up. It don't go down.
Anybody send help. It's my monthly inflation report again, July 2024. I do this every month, so if you want additional context, you can check out some of the previous videos I put up here on it. I will say, single man, no kids, no wife, no family, no dog, no cat.
We got gas on there
Just
twice.
a little tiny 6-foot boa constrictor that I feed every other week on average.
Okay, so you got July food and gas for 1,000. Well, what are groceries? That's not part of that July food and gas. So is that July food and gas? Is that eating out? Because you got takeout on there too. What's that big 1,000 July food and gas? Groceries, takeout, and gas. Like what? Where's your money going, bro? You got gas twice. You got food 3 times. takeout, groceries, and July food. Help it make sense. Am I just not seeing it?
She don't cost that much though, but this is ridiculous. And people got the nerve and the audacity to ask me why I don't want kids. Like I'm gonna be able to pay for some kids when I'm paying this much for groceries and gas. But hey, it's the current economy we living in. Somebody needs to change it. I ain't gonna give my political views on here, but somebody needs to change this yesterday.
We're showing inflation.
We see how that's panning out, right? Because I made this compilation a while ago. It's been sitting on my computer. I'm barely doing it. Like I made this in 2024, y'all. So, this was before the election. So he's kind of saying like, we need Trump in here. Like, look what Biden did. But fast forwarding it to now, how did that age? Like people are losing millions of dollars, thousands of dollars in the stock market. It looks like from these tariffs, things are going to be going up more. Like we're going to be getting into those, y'all. This is a good topic I like to get into. I'm cheap. I'm frugal. I got in trouble for saying cheap one time. They're like, no, you're not cheap. You're frugal. So I'm frugal, y'all. I don't spend money on junk. I'm making a little money now. I'll buy me a pair of shoes and mama bear a pair of shoes, or, I'll buy me a tool if I need it, but I don't go out buying, junk, right? I don't. So hit that subscribe button, y'all.
Is rippling into every corner of American life, with some people skipping meals because they simply can't afford it. Prices may be down at the gas pump, but prices overall, especially for food, have increased by 8% more than they were last year.
On appliances. So from this administration, we've seen them go after gas stoves, air conditioning units with regulation, refrigerators, washing machines, dishwashers, now water heaters. How many more home appliances will Americans eventually have to replace then because of regulation?
So just to be clear, when it comes to water heaters, and it is proposed, what has been put forward, and if it is enacted, it would not take it into effect until 2020.
If you have a debit card, take your debit card, cut it up, get rid of it. You don't need it. If you have a credit card, just take all the ordinary expenses that you would put on a debit card and put it on a credit card. If you were going to put gas in your car, you were already going to do that anyways, yes, right? Instead of putting it on a debit card that doesn't reward you for that spend, put it on a credit card, and then immediately thereafter use the debit card to pay down the credit card. You're literally getting paid to spend money on things that you're already going to spend money for. Groceries, you're already going to buy them anyway, right? You got to eat or you're going to die. If you're going to buy those things, put it on a credit card that's going to reward you and cash back for that. You don't have to do anything outside of what you were already doing. Just transition those transactions over to your credit card and then use your debit card to pay the credit card down. It's very simple.
If you use... Okay, Mark Cuban's about to get into that, but I mean, that made some sense. When I put that on there, originally, it was like, this guy is an idiot. And then I put this Mark Cuban talking about credit cards. But what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? You're going to have a little interest, right? But if you pay it off right away, are you going to have interest? I don't know. Let's see what Mark Cuban's got to say about the credit cards.
Credit cards, you do not want to be rich.
Well, anytime you say something about debt, people send it to me. Look,
Right,
look what Cuban said.
Tweets, yeah.
Look at what Cuban
and
said.
Vice versa.
Yeah, so cut up your credit cards. If you use a credit card, you don't want to be rich.
Yep,
I like that line. That's a good line.
That's my favorite line. I tell it people all the time. People then they ask me, well, where's the best place to invest? I said, your best place to invest is to pay off all your credit cards and burn them, because your credit card, you know what your return is, right? If you get off, you're paying 15, 20% interest. If you pay that down, you just earn 15 or 20%.
Folks, I've told you 100 times, and Forbes 400 wealthiest people in North America, when surveyed, asked what's the way to build wealth, what's the number one way to build wealth. 75% of wealthy people, not your broke brother-in-law with an opinion, but wealthy people say, get out of debt and stay out of debt.
Yep.
Because it gives you power over your largest wealth building tool, which is your income.
I saw this video of this girl balancing her her budget from her job, and I think like her pay, like her salary is like $75,000. In the video, she said that she her statement for her credit card was like $2,100, and at the end of her balancing out her whole like spreadsheet, she was in negative $200 for the next 2 weeks. Let me just say this. I love that she made that video and that she woke that up, because a lot of people be wondering how people be affording all these designer things, yada, yada, yada. A lot of them are just simply swiping that fucking credit card. A lot of people are literally just living in fucking debt. Big debts. Like, when she said her ending balance was $2,000, I think her limit said like $9,000. That's not even the smallest credit card debt I've seen on people that I personally fucking know. Like, So many people are not only living paycheck to paycheck, maybe they are living credit card statement to credit card statement. And it's literally just a cycle, because after they pay off that statement and they're at like negative $200 for the week, guess what they then have to turn around and do? You betcha. They have to use that fucking credit card. Don't let them have multiple credit cards, but we're talking about thousands and thousands of debt. And you know, the other piece of it is that there probably are some scammers out here, or some people who really do have making over 100,000 our tech girls who we love, and you know, the doctors and the nurses, yada yada yada. But a lot of people are just consumed by credit card debt, and it's just a cycle of credit card debt and bad spending habits. Now, I don't know what it looks like if it's a scammer, but I will say if they can't have a Cash App account or they're using Cash App as their bank account, it's probably a scammer.
When you lay a piece of plastic.
That's let's get off this screen, y'all. That did it for me. Where that guy was saying just use your credit card and pay. I was thinking that's don't do that. Don't do that. You know why? Life happens. Life happens. I just had my roof, a bad windstorm, shingles blew off, right? I had to pay $1,000 to have a guy come out. Home warranty or the home insurance, I think my deductible was like $2,500. This guy said I'll do it for $1,000. So I didn't use the insurance, right? Because the deductible is $2,500. I paid this guy $1,000 cash, but I have that little emergency fund for times like that. But imagine if you were doing that credit card thing, kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Life happens, y'all. Kid gets sick, roof blows, water heater goes out, washer and dryer leaks, damages. Life happens. You're gonna be like, you know what, I can't pay it this time. I'll do it next time. Next time I'll do it. And then it just starts adding up. And the next thing you know, you're backed up. So that's why I put that there. When I was listening to him, I was like, whoa, that makes some sense. But it makes sense. It sounds good. But life happens, y'all. Unless you have a lot of money in that savings where when life happens, you're okay. But the majority of people don't. And life happens. Roofs go out, electrician problem. Things happen, y'all. Car breaks down. You need a new alternator. You need a new radiator. You need new tires. You need, things happen. So stay away from that debt, y'all.
Plastic down, they hand it back to you. And somehow that tells your brain that you just got a good deal. The studies show that you spend 12 to 18% more when using plastic over cash. When people bought stuff with cash, it activated the pain centers in the brain. And when you bought stuff with plastic, there was no brain activity. That's weird, isn't it? But we don't even think about stuff like that.
My credit cards got the best of me. To paint the picture, I was a teacher that got my hands on $17K in credit card debt, and I started balling out. These are 2 of 6 credit cards that I maxed out. But I was able to pay off all that debt in 1 year, and this is exactly how I did it. These are the 6 credit cards that I maxed out. I put them in order from largest balance to smallest balance. I started by putting as much money as possible at my smallest card, while simultaneously making minimum payments at the other 5. And because this balance was the smallest, I was able to pay this off really quick. This initial payoff allows you the satisfaction of a quick win, and that's really important. Then I took all that money that I was using to pay off that first one and started rolling that into Capital One. From there, I just kept going. And eventually, I was able to pay off this biggest one in no time. This method is known as the debt snowball, and it was popularized by Dave Ramsey. Now, I'm not a mega fan of Dave Ramsey, but he is really good for getting people out of debt. Like, follow, and let me know in the comments how you're going after your debt.
This is fucking crazy. Before I leave Publix, I gotta show y'all these prices. This is for a case of sodas. This used to be $3 to $4. This is $9.29 for a
Beer
case
prices back
of
when I used to
sodas.
drink, y'all.
Look at this.
Bucks for a
case
12
root
pack of
beer,
Bud.
It's $11.49. A carton of eggs is $11.39. Come on with these prices, bro. For a bag of barbecue Lay's, $4.99. It's $5 for a bag of chips. It used to be $2. This is insane. This is $10 for a case of Gatorade. And they had the nerve to put buy 2 get 1 free.
Even buy one no more.
$20 for
Who
2
needs 4 cases of
man,
Gatorade?
that's insane. These used to be $4. And they're doing buy 2 get 1 free, making people think that they're getting a deal. It's crazy, man. What happened to our country in just 4 years? What happened?
Now I have a chip addiction, right? Fighting it. I do good for a week. I do bad for 2 days, right? It is what it is. It's my addiction, right? I don't drink. I don't smoke, but I love my pizza and chips. But anyways, I remember when like hot Cheetos, they used to be like $1.99, right? buy one, get one free. Now, they're $1.99, but you got to buy 4 bags. And buying 4 bags is cheaper than buying 2 bags. So you're going to buy the 4 bags, and they're getting their money, one, and they're killing you. They're getting you in the hospital, getting you sick, right? It's a win-win for them. It's disgusting.
4 years ago, all of these were $1.
Yeah.
Now we're at $3.59.
Yeah.
I don't know what Joe Biden has done to our country and Congress in the last 4 years, but we need a clean sweep. We need to redo our Congress, our Senate, our House of Representatives, because these people aren't favoring the people in our country. They're looking out for themselves. They're investing in stocks that favor their stocks. They're fattening the pockets of themselves and their own families. They don't care about the people. So come November, let's make this right.
Now, I just saw, we were watching the news, right? And they were talking about these tariffs. And they put up a list of, like, Republicans, right? And they had, like, Mitch McConnell. They had, four dudes. I don't even know who they are, y'all. But the people behind the scenes that pass the laws or whatever and do the tariffs and all that. It's not just Trump, right? It's his people. And they showed 4 or 5 of them, just pictures next to each other, like little pictures next to each other. And I said to my lady, I said, do you think those 4 or 5 people are doing what's best for us? They were all old American men, right? They're old men. They just look like they don't give a damn about the American people. I was telling her, like, you think these 4 people care about what's best for us? Do you think they're trying to, with these tariffs, help out the American people? Look at them. She laughed and she was like, that's true. No, they don't.
Inflation of 5.4%. Now the prices of beef are up 17.6%. The average American family spending an extra $175 a month. Gas prices are up to $7 in California, $5 in New York. We can't afford these people. And Joe Biden, when he was asked about gas prices, what he's going to do about it, he says, I don't see anything that's going to significantly reduce gas prices in the near future. He doesn't know.
No, he doesn't have any idea. Look, one of the things I was most proud about, our country became energy independent. We were #1 by far over Saudi Arabia and you know this, and Russia. Energy independent. We were doing so much, the prices, it was $1.87 a gallon.
I remember.
Okay, if you look at the numbers.
Crazy.
And now, yesterday, they had, in a certain section of California, $7.70.
$30 an hour is going to be $60,000 a year, which is $3,900 a month after taxes. Now, if you're making $60,000 a year, $30 an hour, you might want your own place. So if you wanted to splurge and get your own 1-bedroom with utilities, it'll be about $2,000, and you keep everything else the same. Your monthly is $3,550, leaving you with only $350, which is essentially still paycheck to paycheck. I just want everyone to really take a minute and sit on this for a second. $60,000 a year in 2024 with no fund, no savings, no investment, and no health insurance. You have $350 left over. Wild. That's wild. This is why the goalpost has moved into the mid 100,000s if you're trying to buy a house and have children. So I think it's important for us to look at the current reality of what $20 an hour really is. But I just wanted to make this very clear because a lot of people are talking on us saying $20 an hour, we must be overspending. It's like, no, this is the current reality.
Gen Zs are getting fired at alarming rates. My dad just sent me this article which talks about how 6 in 10 employers are already talking about firing the Gen Zs they hired only a couple months ago. I'm a Gen Z myself, so I thought this was really interesting. Especially because in the article, it talks about a lot of the stuff that I talk about here on this platform. According to the article, here's a reason why a lot of the Gen Zs are getting canned. They come unprepared to do the job at hand. Blame whatever you want, but as I've said many times on this platform, just having the degree isn't enough. You can cheat your way through college and come out with no skills. Then when you get on the job, you're going to have a rude awakening. Number 2, genuinely not wanting to do the work. Gen Zs want to arrive late and leave early, and do the absolute bare minimum, and generally are very low initiative. It is unreasonable to expect a great work-life balance, high-paying job straight out of college. Number 3, being unprofessional and generally having very poor communication skills. How you look, talk, and act matter, no matter what job you're doing. If you're going to work, dress nice. Learn how to speak up, speak confidently, give firm handshakes. By the way, I do think that Gen Z faces unique challenges that a lot of other previous generations haven't. But every generation goes through unique struggles, so it's important for us as Gen Z to recognize them and try and improve upon them. So work hard during college, have realistic expectations when you get out of college, learn how to be professional and communicate effectively, and follow me for more content.
So I had a
You know, a little thing I was thinking about when he was talking was, these Gen Z kids, when I was growing up, have you seen these kids in high school? Have you seen these kids in high school? What they're wearing? Gucci belts, Gucci, Louis Vuitton belts, and this is what these kids in high school are wearing now. $500 pair of Jordans, maybe more. If you wear the $100 pair, you're gonna get roasted, right? Like when I was growing up, I was wearing a Pro Club shirt, some Dickies, maybe a hat. I wasn't even thinking of driving a Mercedes. I didn't even know what a Mercedes was growing up, or a BMW. I gave whatever my parents gave me, like a little Xterra. My dad had an Xterra. He gave me the Xterra to drive to school and whatnot, right? But now kids are seeing on TikTok, on Instagram, they're seeing these things. We didn't have that. We had MySpace. We followed people from our high school, right? We didn't follow these celebrities. We didn't see them on the yachts. We didn't see them, with Louis Vuitton bags. We didn't see them driving Bugattis and doing all these things. Like, did you know what a Bugatti was in high school? I know I didn't. But that's why these kids now, they're not putting any effort into their job or into their work because they see all day, every day, these people making all this money, living that lifestyle that they think they're happy, but they're probably miserable, flying private jets just for shaking their ass on camera. Why am I going to go over here and stock these shelves in the grocery store when all I got to do is take a picture of my toes and boom, I'm a millionaire? That's the problem, y'all. It's these phones. These kids now are seeing things like wanting the most expensive things because they think that's how you got to be to get all these followers to be cool.
woman today that she couldn't buy a house, even though she had two jobs, had $100,000 to put down, and had a 700 plus credit score. I'd actually approved her about a year ago to buy a $500,000 or $600,000 house, and she'd had a great job, making about $150,000 a year. In the last year, what had actually happened was she had decided that she wanted to go from full-time to part-time at her main job, and she'd picked up a second job in a different field, and she'd only been there for about 6 months.
Be
So
there
what I
2
really
years.
had now was somebody working at one job for, I don't know, several years, had been part-time for about a year, and a second job that was part-time in a different field that she'd only been doing for 6 months. And even though the combined income that she was making was pretty close to the 150 she was making before, I couldn't use the second job at all because she didn't have a history of two jobs for 2 years. Maybe I could have got an exception if she'd had two jobs for 1 year, but that would be an exception. At the end of the day, I told her she has to be on the second job for at least a year, and then we could see if we could get an exception for her to buy the house that she wanted. If I couldn't, she would actually have to wait 2 years to be on both jobs in her current situation.
All right, y'all, we're at the auction. I'm going to show you how bad repos are getting and how new these vehicles are that are getting repossessed by the banks and being sold at the auction. Look at this. All these are repos, all brand new cars. You got Chargers, Scat Packs, Mercedes, Genesis, Range Rovers, Range Rover, trucks, Teslas. Man, they should have repoed this. This ain't no Scat Pack. Look at that. The Savini's wheel with the, it's a regular Charger, man. And guys, these aren't, 2010, 2012. These are 2019, 2020s and up that are getting repoed. People are barely had these cars for a year, maybe less, maybe more, and the banks are picking them up and selling them at the auctions for a fraction of what they bought it for. Show you how cooked the car market is with all these high interest loans, people bailing out of their auto loans because they can't even afford it. Here we have a 2019 Range Rover. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm sure whoever bought this probably paid an arm and a leg, and it's going to go for a fraction of the cost of the auction. And during COVID, and even till today, people are getting approved for these crazy loans on these cars, paying $1,200, $1,500 a month, insurance, is $300-400, maybe $500 a month for them. So they're paying more than half their income on just an automobile. That doesn't include anything else, any maintenance or anything. It's crazy. Car market is getting stagnant. Inventory is going up. And the reason is people just don't know how to educate themselves, budget correctly. And dealers are taking advantage of that and marking up these cars at such an alarming rate. And banks are approving these loans. We're probably going to start seeing the cars that Steve-O got me rolling sold to those people start popping up at the auction soon. So, but seriously, if you don't want to end up trying to pay the difference on a vehicle that you've bought at such a high price with a high interest rate, take your time to educate yourself and make sure you budget correctly. And as far as the car market goes, we're in trouble because all of these are repos.
All right, it's hitting me now. I got my car repoed on Friday. So this weekend, that happened. So I got my car repoed on Friday. It is now Monday. And I'm grabbing my stuff from my car and I'm trying to hold it together. And kept telling myself, if it's not okay, it's not the end. Woo! But till we see each other again. This is the last time I see you. You were so good to me. Till next time, my love.
What trends have you noticed amongst people that are struggling financially? Like what are they doing with their money? Why is it not going in their favor?
Everyone's good with getting a 5, 6, 7 year car loan at 25% and thinks that doesn't mean anything. So that's crazy. I mean, what? The average new car payment, what was it? I think it's recently come out to like $800 a month.
Yeah.
It's insane. If 50% of the people in the United States, 50% who have a job make $30,000 or less on a yearly basis, $800 a month as the new average car payment, that's insanity.
Eric, what's the highest payment you've seen a customer sign up on, and what type of car was it?
$1,450 and an F450 Platinum.
Luke, what's the highest car payment you've seen somebody sign up on? What kind of car was it?
$1,400, and it was on a F350.
Dylan, what's the highest car payment you've seen somebody sign up on, and what kind of car was it?
$1,789 and a 22 F250.
Jerry, what's the highest car payment you've seen a customer sign up on, and what kind of car was it?
$1,500 something that it was on a GT500 with $10,000 down.
Adam, what's the highest car payment you've had somebody sign up on? What kind of car was it on?
First of all, got that oxtail right here. Y'all don't know about this. Probably $1,800 on a 350, probably.
Sam, sorry to interrupt your lunch, buddy. What's the highest car payment you've seen, and what kind of car was it on?
$2,349 Lamborghini Huracan.
Tell me, what is the highest car payment you've seen somebody sign up on? What kind of car did they get?
$1,800 on a Mustang 5.0.
Knocked his head off. Highest for me is going to be $2,050 on an Expedition Platinum.
Grace, what's the highest payment you've ever seen?
$1,784.
Demetrius, what's the highest payment you've ever seen?
Oh, $2,100.
Sheesh. Roy, what's the highest car payment you've ever seen?
It was $1,958.
Jesus. Leslie, what's the highest payment you've seen?
$1,400.
Hey guys, what's the highest payment y'all have ever seen?
$2,435.
March?
$3,200.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Bailey.
Yes.
What's the highest car payment you've seen?
I wouldn't have a clue because I'm marketing manager.
Patrick.
Sir.
What's the highest payment you've seen?
Highest payment I've seen, probably like $1,800, $1,900.
Bro. What's the highest car payment you've ever seen?
2,500, and you can be next.
Craziness, craziness, craziness. Am I right? All right, y'all, that's it. That's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I did a lot of talking in that video. On these, I can just sit here all day and talk about this stuff. I love it. I find it interesting. I find it eye-opening. We're gonna be doing a lot of these types of videos. This was an old one from 2024 that I've just had sitting in the clip, y'all, but we'll be getting into the newer ones, y'all. I just had to put this out today. But anyways, y'all, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Link to my big channel will be down below. This is Segovia. I'm signing out of the man cave. I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Later.